What's up, YouTube? December 4th, 2022. Okay, so I have something very interesting to share. Alright, so I do not know to what degree I've already talked about this or given evidence of this on this channel already. I'm not sure if I even have, to be perfectly clear about it. I'm not sure if I'm even going to remember at the moment. I mean, we can look here, okay? I'll scroll through these video titles, okay? But what I will be talking about in this video is the fact that while we may be comprehending the physical, and that is called thoughts, you know. Thoughts are physical things. When we comprehend the physical, we see the physical and we hear the physical. Those are thoughts. Those are ways to comprehend the physical through thinking. But they are physical thoughts, you know. That's why the brain has parts that are physical. That's why the brain has physical parts, and certain regions of the brain are responsible for physical thoughts, and and that's why I was talking about it before, and other people have talked about it well before me, as I've talked about and explained. The visual and the auditory parts of the regions of the brain, but ultimately that's just, you know, that here's the thing. It's not just about the physical, it's not just about, you know, do we see or hear? Because here's the thing. You can't see or hear the non-physical, but if the non-physical truly does exist, then we must be able to comprehend it. And so if you are to comprehend the non-physical with the physical, then that's a paradox. Therefore, we do not comprehend the physical with the non-physical, and we do not comprehend the non-physical with the physical. So if we are comprehending that the non-physical exists, while we are comprehending that the non-physical exists, if we are comprehending both the physical and non-physical simultaneously, it can be very hard to differentiate between which one we are comprehending and by what means are we comprehending it. Because it's all there, because of the ways by which we do those things are common, have a lot in common. There's a lot of overlap. As I've explained and many others have, I've explained this a long time on this channel. I mean, here, you can go to this video, for example, of mine. It's my most recent video. This is where I finally gave a diagram showing what I had already talked about prior, that some things exist, but they don't exist inside of anything. That was just a diagram of it. You know, I had already talked about it in great length prior. Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? Our thoughts. I mean, basically this is about if the soul actually exists, do we actually have a soul while we're on Earth? I'm not denying the notion that we'll have a soul in the afterlife. I mean, obviously, we would have a soul in the afterlife. If we're really going to exist outside of not exist, but in a way where we're not existing in the universe, then that's the afterlife. And in such a case, we'd have to have a soul to do it. I've already given proof that God exists and that an afterlife would have to exist. So I'm not in denial of that. And I've done, but, it's more reasonable to be skeptical about, say, if we have a soul while we're on Earth, given how massively and vastly different our entire Earth existence is to our post-universe existence. I mean, it's a very vast difference. It's not just. It's more than some people realize. I mean, the universe is a physical plane of existence. Whereas the post-universe existence isn't even a physical means of existing. So it's vastly different. So, just by that alone, so I wouldn't even, but some people literally do not realize that. Like these religions, most people in history have not realized that. These religions have been contradicting that notion most of the time in their texts, and then other parts of the time not contradicting it. But they've never really been able to comprehend with what they say, that what those religions say. It doesn't really say that the soul doesn't exist on Earth, or doesn't exist. Like I'm not saying our souls exist in the world. Just to clarify, I've talked about this in great detail prior. I'm saying that the soul coexists. I used to say that our soul coexists with our bodies, but it's not inside of our bodies. If we already had our own soul, it wouldn't exist inside of our body or in the universe. It would just be what we are coexisting with what the other thing that we are, which is our body. So what the fuck is this shit? There's some bullshit going on. However, in those videos where I did clarify that we coexist with with our body while being a soul, and not existing, having our soul exist inside of our body. You see, while I did postulate that and posit that as the truth in those videos devoted to that notion, specifically, I did not clarify something that's quite important to that as a truth in all of this, which is the fact that essentially, you could pretty much say that it's very arguable that we don't really have a soul while we're on Earth. At least not the entirety, I guess you could say, of our mind. If the soul is the mind, then some parts of the mind are physical, I guess is what that's one of the things I was actually theorizing about way back months ago on this channel when I started to do that. But then I started to go into denial of it. And I just said, well, the soul is just the non-physical parts of us, but it's still the mind. But not all of the mind is non-physical, is what I did not quite realize at the time. You can go back to that video if you want. Just search through these videos. I don't even want to do it myself. I don't want to go to the effort of doing it. And I don't want to take the time to concentrate and put in the effort to figure it out. It's not that important, in all seriousness. But the point is, we can comprehend physical things but we can only comprehend them by seeing them and hearing them with the five physical senses: tasting, touching, hearing, seeing. That stuff. But they say, they teach about the sixth sense, the spiritual sense. It's not a physical sense. I think that may be what they were trying to get at. though they may have worded it quite poorly. But the point is, to comprehend something, you do not have to physically use physical things to comprehend it. You do not have to use the 5 physical senses to comprehend it. You don't have to do anything physical to comprehend everything. There's some things you can't even comprehend with anything physical. So, the non-physical things, you can't comprehend something non-physical with the physical. It's like saying that physical things touching creates something non-physical, when that's not how it works. Comprehending the non-physical is a non-physical thing to do. It's not a physical thing to do. So physical processes cannot create a non-physical process. Otherwise, that's like saying that God is a non-physical process created by physical processes. It's like saying it's the opposite of what the theory of God or of the supernatural is. That supernatural and that stuff is created by physical things, when in fact all the evidence points to it being the opposite. And most people in history have understood that much, making more sense. So if anything, we do in fact have a part to us that is not physical. But a lot of ourselves and what we are is actually absolutely physical, and if you take those parts away, we would be very different to what we currently are. And what I'm basically saying is that we wouldn't even be, not only would our memories be removed, but but with such happening, but also our ability to even. But in that happening, also, our ability to even do physical things or comprehend the physical so our ability to comprehend the physical would be removed. And not only that, but our physical memories would be removed as well. And so essentially, we'd still be ourself, So the soul absolutely exists. It just doesn't... But people say the soul is the mind, and that's the problem. The soul isn't all of the mind, it's only some parts of the mind. Now, a few words before I go any further on how does this fare against what major popular religions have said, right? And have I already talked about it before on this channel? I think that a lot of major world religions have recognized that, that the things I've been saying are possible, or at least hinting at it, but they really just denied it. They never really, affirmed to it being true. They would just deny it and say, no, they would just say, well, the soul is all of the mind. And, it's all of the memories and stuff, all the memories you have, will be retained with you, into the afterlife. And that, and that's pretty much what they say. The supposed, okay, keyword supposed evidence they give. And by that I mean it's not actual evidence, but what they claim to be evidence of that is that with how they say, and they back up the lie with another lie that they tell. They say the lie, they tell the lie that all physical memory, that no memories are physical, and that the images and sounds and tastes you remember would be retained with you and woven into your soul, even if it's separated from the body. And they basically say, well, this is because it's very ironic, because they say the soul could not do this without having a body. but once it has a body, it can do this. So they're basically positing that the soul becomes partially physical, but it's saying, which is, here's the thing. It's basically saying at first the soul is not physical, then it becomes physical, and then it leaves the body. So there's different separate things wrong on multiple levels that I've already talked about with that. I made entire videos devoted to debunking those things, okay? Again, the soul is not, okay? I get it. I've admitted in this video that the soul is actually partially depending which definition of soul we're using, yes, some definitions are actually referring to the mind or the soul, which is actually partially physical, but some definitions are not. But to clarify, those religions are saying that the soul or the mind, it's saying that all parts of the soul or mind exist within the body, which is just not true. It is just not true. And while I do actually believe some parts of the soul exist within the body, I don't believe that those parts that exist within it are non-physical parts. I don't believe the non-physical exists inside of the physical. I've given evidence of that it doesn't, and that it makes it safer and more sensible to assume that the non-physical cannot exist in the physical, and the physical cannot exist in the non-physical. At least not without extreme paradoxes. And if those paradoxes were to happen, then it would just debunk what these major world religions have said as well, and they have said that there are no paradoxes. So no matter what happens, I'm debunking something in every major world religion. So because those major world religions just fail to use critical thinking several times over, and that's that. They have an excess overflow of retarded claims, notions, beliefs, and thinking, reinforced over and over and over. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, the truth is, this doesn't really change what I was saying about morality. It doesn't change what I was saying about if there's an infinite past. It doesn't change what I was saying about paradoxes. It doesn't change just about anything I was saying, other than the idea that the soul is completely non-physical. I mean, the soul is not completely non-physical. If by soul you mean the mind, but if you meant, say, Now, here's the thing. The major world religions have said that at least parts of the soul exist in the body. Now, they are correct about that. But when they say that the entire soul exists in the body, that's where I have to just put my foot down and say you're wrong. And I have given evidence that they've said the entire soul exists in the body. And they're also downright wrong when they say that the entire soul is non-physical and yet still exists in the body. When it's stupid, because it's very sad, because, well, they're actually right that parts of the soul do exist in the body, but they say those parts that do are not physical, when it makes more sense to say it is physical parts existing in the body. So they at least got some things right, about that, but they get a lot wrong, a lot of critical things wrong about it. So the truth is, not all of the soul exists in the body. The parts that do exist in the body are physical, and they're still technically the mind. So there you have it. Like I was saying, when we see things and when we hear things, we're still hearing, sound. When we hear words in our inner voice, we're still hearing actual sound. That's the science behind it. And when we see images in our memories, we're still seeing something. That's the science of it. I'm saying that's what science proves. You can do the work yourself to figure out the science behind it. I already have. So if you don't want to do that, then you're just willfully ignorant. But the truth is, so the truth is, parts of the mind are physical and other parts are non-physical. So there's a duality there, as there seems to be for a lot of things. Kind of similar to how I was saying, the law of opposites applies a lot of the time. And the law of opposites is pretty much infallible. I've been talking about the law of opposites for months now on this channel. And yeah, that pretty much sums up my thoughts on this. I hope you, please let me know what you think. Like, share, subscribe if you thought it was worth such. If you thought it was a good video. And, do I think this is going to go viral? I don't think this is going to go viral. But as I've clarified in recent videos, I know that there's probably never going to be a video I put up that's going to go viral. At least not without, say, AI, the plans of AI that I was talking about. So as I've clarified, I'm doing this, blatantly doing this. I've admitted this openly to the public or any viewers that I do this to put more thorns in your side, and I do this to put more thorns in humanity's side, because they don't like what I'm saying, but it's what's best to be said, and they don't know what's best for them regarding these things. No one person in history has understood everything that was best for them. So they're not an exception. I'm not saying there will never be people who know what's best for all of what's best for them. I think there will be a day when everybody's going to know everything that's best for them. But until that day comes, I'm going to keep putting more thorns in people's sides. Just as they would put a thorn in, say, anyone else's side just for bogus reasons, and I'm doing it for justified reasons. So I don't give two shits what they bitch about in regards to this. Now, anyway, I'm going to just end off the video here. So basically, one more thing to say about this is that basically this means that I was wrong, but now it means that I've debunked major world religions even further. So there you go. This is technically another proof against major world religions amongst so many I've already given. So, yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed. Bye now.